Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to learn JavaScript. It is one of the most important languages in today's world. Why do I say it is important? Because we can create web apps, desktop apps, we can create mobile applications, native mobile applications using JavaScript. We can also do machine learning, and of course we use it in the front end and as well as on back end in the web development using runtimes like Node.js, and also now there's also Dino. So there are a lot of options, and you can basically run JavaScript everywhere. Even SpaceX used JavaScript in the design of their console or their user interface in their rockets. Of course, there were other safety options, but I'm just trying to tell you that JavaScript is everywhere. You can build anything with the help of JavaScript, almost anything. So it's a great language to learn and a great skill to have. So what are we gonna great skill to have? So what are we gonna learn today? We are going to learn variables. What are variables in JavaScript, and then what are variables in general. Syntax of how to declare variables. So syntax is basically just the rules of the language, okay, and data types, what kind of data can those variables store, and those data types are as you can see here, number, string, boolean, and all those. And we will also learn about conditional functions and loops. And if you're new to my channel, I make videos about programming, web development, so if you are interested in them, please consider subscribing to my channel. And with that said, let's get started with today's video. So first of all, variables in JavaScript. What are variables? So variables are like the simple boxes in which you can store some values. So for example, in JavaScript, we declare variables using there are two ways to declare variables. First, there is var keyword, and then we can give some name to that variable after using the var keyword. For example, we can give it name. Okay, so maybe let's just say car. Okay, our variable name is car. Okay, so this we have created a variable, but as of now it does not have any value. You can give it some value using equal to symbol, and you can give it different values, like you can give it a number, for example 2, but it won't make sense what is car is equal to 2. Okay, so we can give it a string. So string variable is basically like anything inside of quotes, double quotes or single quotes, both are same, doesn't make a difference in JavaScript. But if you open with double quotes, you also have to close with double quotes, so that is one thing you have to remember. And inside of this we can write maybe BMW. So this is one thing. And we can also give it a boolean value. What does boolean value means? Boolean value simply means true or false. So there are two boolean values, true or false, nothing else. And we can also give it undefined, but when we do not initialize value of a variable, it is by default undefined in JavaScript, especially when we use var keyword. So our value is by default initialized with undefined. Undefined basically means that our value or variable does not have any value as of now. And that's also null. Null means we have initialized our variable, that is we have given it some initial value, but that initial value is empty. Null just means nothing, empty, completely empty. We have initialized car but with empty value, so it does not contain any value. So this is basically the syntax of how we use variables in a lot of languages. We use a var keyword, so here instead of var there can be other keywords in other languages. In JavaScript we have var keyword, and we also have let keyword. So you can also do something like let car equal to some value like null, or maybe something like BMW. Okay, so these are just two ways to declare a variable, and they do have their differences, which I will explain later when we understand what are functions, what are scopes, and those are advanced topics. But as of now, we can declare variables using these two syntax. and most of the time try to use the let keyword. Okay, I will definitely come back to that, why we need to use let keyword or where keyword. But as of now, you can use either one, but try to use let keyword in most of the situations. So we have a let or where keyword to declare a variable, and then we have the name of the variable, and then we may have semicolon, so that we are not initializing the value. So it could be something like, uh, let's just say car count. We may not have initialized the value, so it will be undefined by default. So we may have nothing, or we may have equal to symbol and a initial value, which can be changed later on in our program if we want to. For example, we can change car to some other brand, for example Tata. So we can change the brand value. Okay, so that's possible. That's basically the main purpose behind having variables in our any language, any programming language in general, so that we can reuse those values, and we can also change them if we want to. Now this was the syntax where we have where or let keyword, we have variable name, and then we may have equal to, so that we can initialize the value, or maybe we want to run some code. Basically here we want to do some calculations, and after all that we want to initialize the value of car count to something like 12 or maybe something like that. So we can do that as well. Both are the possibilities. This was how we use variables in our JavaScript. And now let's talk about all the data types that our variables support. So we saw here BMW. So a BMW was a string. So what if we want to store the number of cars? So let's create a new variable, number of cars. So as you can see here, we are using let keyword, and then the number of variable, and then equal to sign to initialize the variable, and let's give it some value 2. So 2 is also a data type. First of all, BMW inside of our quotes, this is known as a string. Okay, and then we have numbers. So this is number data type in our JavaScript. So we can also have numbers like 2, or maybe some other number, 6, or we can also have numbers in points, or also known as floating point values like 3.4. Now we won't have 3.4 cars, but it is a possible value in our JavaScript. So we also have numbers, and finally we also have a boolean value. For example, is car. So let's assume this variable holds the information about whether it is a car or not. So if it is a car, it can hold true value, and if it's not a car, it can hold false value. So that's one of the values. Boolean is also one of the primitive data types of JavaScript. So we had a look at undefined. So whenever we do not give it our variables some value, for example, let's create some variable, and now let's try to do console.log. So sum. So console.log will basically print the value of this variable, or if we pass any string, that string onto our console or our terminal. Let's get our terminal here, and let's run our program. So what we will do is, we will first of all, one thing, if you do not have Node installed, I would definitely recommend you to install Node, so that we can run JavaScript inside of our machine. So just enter Node.js on Google, and you will get this first link, nodejs.org, and download this long-term support LTS 14.17. This is the latest version as of now. It will change based on when you are watching this video, but 14.17 is the latest version for now. So you have to download this so that we can run JavaScript on our machine, because basically JavaScript is meant to be run or was meant to be run on the browsers, but using Node we can run JavaScript inside of our devices or inside of our computers and also on the server. So it's amazing. Download it and we can continue then. So now I'm assuming you have downloaded and installed Node.js. So if you want to confirm if you have successfully installed Node.js, you can type node version. So it should show you some version, and you can also do npm version. So npm comes with Node. When you install Node, it also comes there. You also get npm, and npm is super useful. We will come back to npm maybe in some future videos, but as of now let's concentrate on JavaScript. So how do we run JavaScript code inside of our device or inside of our terminal? We can do node and index.js. So as you can see here, our value is undefined. So because we did not initialize our variable with some initial value, its value is by default undefined. We have not defined its value, but it could have been something like if you have null. So we can also run this again. So now it's null. So null, when we use null, it just means that we do have a value, but it's just empty value. It does not contain anything. Null means nothing, and undefined means we have not initialized a variable yet. So those are some minor differences, but you need to be careful and you need to understand those differences if you want to work with JavaScript. We saw how we declare variables. We saw that we can use numbers, we can have string as values of variables. We saw we can have boolean values. We saw that by default our variables are undefined if we do not initialize them. We saw that we can initialize our variables with null value, and it just means that a variable is empty. And we can also initialize our variables with objects or arrays. Now objects and arrays are something new. First let's talk about arrays. So what are arrays? So we can just create some let's just say let arr. So this is our let keyword and this is our arr. So this is the name of our variable is equals to square brackets. This square brackets is how we initialize an variable with arrays. But what does arrays means? When we want to store a list of values, then we use arrays. For example, we may want to store different car brands. Okay, so we can store something like BMW, but we also want to store another name which could be something like Volvo. Now I do not know if they are different brands or something, but and we can also have something like Tata, and we can have something like Ferrari. So we can have any number of n number of brands. Okay, so this array basically means we can store a list of values. Whenever we want to store a list of values, we use arrays, and array can store any valid JavaScript data type. It could be a string, it could be a number, or it could be a some object or boolean. It could be any valid JavaScript value. We can also get the length of the array, that is how many elements are there inside of our array, and we can just print that using console.log. So this console.log method prints our values to our terminal basically, and if we are running it in our browser, it will just print it in our browser's console. So we can do node index.js, and now as we can see here, first it prints 4. It is for the length of our array, that is 4. So we have, as you can see here, we have 4 values, that is first BMW, Volvo, Tata and Ferrari. That's why it prints 4. And whenever we remove or add some value, this array.length gets automatically updated. That's one property, one useful property that you will use a lot when working with any programming languages. We have many different programming languages, and every programming language has some kind of list, and every kind of list in every programming language has this length property. Now the syntax, that is how we use or get those values, that is the length of the array or list, might be different, but we have length in almost all programming languages. And in JavaScript we do that by array dot, that is the name of our array, or dot length. We can also give it directly a simple array, it doesn't even need to be name of the array. And when we run this program again, so we get here 0, so that because it does not contain any value, so length of our array is 0. And now here it was also printing BMW, Volvo, Tata and Ferrari, all the values of our array, because I was using this loop. So it is one of the higher order functions, you could say. So you can for now ignore it. This line basically prints all the values inside of our array. So that's how we declare an array. And if we want to use the values of our array, we can use them by doing, we can access them by array, that is the name of the array, and then we use a square bracket and we give the index value, the position of the element we want to retrieve, and the index values start from 0. That is the first element BMW will have an index of 0, and the second element Volvo will have an index of 1, third element will have an index of 2, fourth element will have an index of 3. That's how indexes work in most of the languages. In almost all the major languages, the index of an array or a list starts from 0, not from 1 but 0. So now let's run this program. So now as you can see here, this is our empty array, so it will of course print 0, and I can just comment this out and run again. So when we run again, we get BMW, because our element of our array, that is this array variable, which contains 4 elements. Okay, so our 0th element is BMW. So what happens if we try to reference an index which does not exist? For example, what happens if we do array of 4? If we try to access the 5th element, because remember our values or our indexes of our array start from 0. Okay, because this has 0 and this has the index 3, so it won't have index 4. What happens when we try to do this? Let's execute a program and find out. So it is undefined. Okay, so as you can see here, it is undefined. In most of the programming languages, it will directly throw an error. Okay, but since it's JavaScript, you get an undefined. You can do something like -1, which is an invalid value. So whenever we pass some invalid value to our array as index, so this is the index value we are passing, it throws us undefined, it gives us undefined value. So negative values are of course not valid, so we can't pass negative values as indexes. We can only pass positive values, and those values start from 0. They always start from 0 and go till infinity, or I'm not exactly infinity, but there's definitely there are limits to hardware as well. That was our array data structure. So arrays are also a kind of data which we can store in our variables. And now one of the most important data structure or the data type in our JavaScript is definitely objects. So what are objects in our JavaScript, and how do we use or declare them? So first of all, let's have a variable, let keyword, let object is equals to some value. Okay, so when we want to declare or initialize our variable, remember initialize means we are giving it a value from whenever we are declaring it. I hope there is the difference between declaring and initializing a variable is clear. whenever we have just this much part, so we are declaring a variable that we are going to use it sometime in the future. But if we give it some value, initial value, that is equal to and some value, anything, any JavaScript valid value, we are initializing it. So how to initialize a object? We initialize a object using curly braces. So this is the syntax for using object, and all the objects have something called properties. Okay, what are the properties? The property of an object in JavaScript is the key, and it has a corresponding value. For example, maybe we want a object, car object. Okay, so it will have following properties. The car will have a name, of course, so it will, maybe it's BMW, and car may have type, so maybe it's a sports car. Okay, sports car. And it may have some metadata, so we may have some property called meta, and its value can be another object. So the value of keys or the properties of our object, so as you can see here, the property, the these are the keys or the property, you can call them using both the names. They are properties of our object, and they are the keys for some value. So this is a key, this acts like a key if we want to access this value. Okay, so I will show you how to access them. Let's just see how we declare them. So it might have some metadata. For example, it might have something like top speed, so it could be something like 450 string. Let's say 450 kilometer per hour. I know it might be completely unrealistic, but this is just an example. And it may have something like fuel capacity, so it could be something like I'm just giving completely random value, I do not know what's the real values. So 50 liters. Okay, so this is how we construct an object, or this is how we initialize a variable with an object. But now how do we use it? So if we want to access some values of object, what we can do is, so we will just, how do we do that? First of all, we take the name, that is our car object, and then there are two ways to access the properties of our object, that is name, type, meta, and all these values. First way is using dot notation. So when we press car object dot, we can see all the properties it has, meta, name, type, and all of them. So we can do that, or maybe we can also do meta. And now meta also has some properties on it. So when we click again dot, we can see fuel capacity and top speed, so we can access either of them. And now we can run this program. So any guesses what will be the output? You can try to guess the output before I run this. Pause the video and try to guess the output. And let's run this program now. So index.js, so as you can see, 450 kilometer per hour. So where was this 450 kilometer per hour? Here, this was the string value we provided here. So the top speed was a property of meta property. So a property, that is a key, can have another object as its value, and it can be nested to any depth you can imagine. Now nesting just means having an object inside of an object, or basically having a loop inside of a loop, or having something inside of other thing. That's what nesting means in programming in general terms. Speaking in general terms, so we can have different properties, and these properties should be simple plain text, or it could be string, but it cannot be something like number, or it cannot be something like a boolean. it definitely cannot be something like boolean, of course. So it has to be something like a normal text value or maybe a string, nothing else. So this has to be a string or normal text value. Even if you do not put quotes around it, it doesn't not matter, but it should have a string or a normal text value, a properties, and its values, the properties values, that is the right hand side of the property, the value we give it by colon. That is, this is somewhat similar to equal to. Here we have variable name, and on the right hand side we have this value of the variable. So similarly, here we have the property name, that is the key, and here we have this colon instead of equals to, and here we have values. So the value can be any valid JavaScript data type. It could be either a string, or it could be a number, or it could be a boolean value. It could be even an array of values. For example, BMW and Mercedes. So it could be any value, any valid JavaScript value here. But here array does not make sense, so we will change this to BMW. Okay, so it can be any valid JavaScript data type. So object is really one of the very important data types in our JavaScript, and it can even have some different values like functions or anything. But since we haven't yet talked about functions, let's actually talk about conditionals and loops first, and then we will definitely come back to this. Okay, so I think you understood the how we declare objects and how we can use them basically. So actually let me show another method how we can access the properties of our object. We have car object, and then we can use square brackets similar to an array, but instead of passing indexes, we pass in a string as a property, and inside of our string we pass the name of the property we want to access. So name, so as you can see here, it prints out the name. And we can also do something like meta, and inside of our meta, since we had something like fuel capacity, so now when we execute our index.js, we get 50 liters. So as you can see, this is one method, and other method was dot notation. So instead of doing this array like syntax, we could do dot notation. So but when we are using dot, we do not use strings, we just directly access the values. So now as you can see here, 50 liters and 50 liters. So now you might be thinking, what is this plus notation and what is this string? So we are just passing, this string is just a space, because we want the space between these two values, we wanted to separate them. And this plus operator, it acts as a concatenation operator, and it adds the two values and converts this value. I mean, this value was already in string, and if it wasn't, it would have converted this value into a string to print it onto the console, and then it added a space after 50 liter, and then it added the value of this variable, that is car object dot meta dot fuel capacity, that is 50 liter. So these are the two methods using which you can access the properties of our object, and this is basically the concatenation operator. Plus operator can be used as a concatenation operator to combine two strings, and it can also be used to add two numbers. So now let's have a look at few of the operators provided by JavaScript. Some of the operators provided by JavaScript are, first one is of course the plus operator that we saw here, and it serves two purposes. It can use for two purposes. First, let's say concatenated string is equals to this plus this. So it could be something like, this is a CS just means concatenated string. Okay, and now when we console.log or concatenated string, First of all, let's comment this out, our previous log, console log. So when we try to console log this now, so as you can see here, this we get this is a CS. So we do not get the space between a and CS because we do not have space between them. It's when we are using this concatenation, it's same as saying something like this, okay. So it just adds the two strings. So this you could basically say that this string, that is this string, is equal to this string. There is no difference between these two strings because when we use concatenation operator, it does not add any space or anything. It just takes this string and adds this string at the end of this string, okay. If we wanted the space, we could do something like we could add space here, or maybe we could add space at the end of this. Either way we would get a single space, okay. So this is one way. So this is string concatenation, but this plus operator also does other things, like it also adds values. So we can pass it we can pass our console.log 3 plus 5. So when we do this, what would be the expected output? Of course 8. 3 plus 5. If you are learning programming, I assume you know basic mathematics. So our output is 8. And we could also have similarly minus. We can also subtract the values. We can also multiply them. So as you can see here, we get 15, and we can also divide them. So forward slash is used to divide them, and as you can see, we get the value 0.6. So we can add the values, we can subtract the values using subtract operator, that is minus, and we can multiply and we can divide them. But what happens when we do something like this? 3 plus 5 into 3. So which operation will get executed first? So let's try to run this and see what happens. So we get 18. So what it does is it basically follows BODMAS rule. So I hope you know what is BODMAS. If you do not, let's talk about it. BODMAS. So what it does is, first of all, if it has any brackets, so we do bracket open. It will just do the operations inside of our bracket. In this particular example, we do not have any brackets. So what is the next thing it will do? It will do division. So because we do not have division, now let's move ahead, and then we have multiplication, and after multiplication we have A for addition and S stands for subtraction. So first thing it should do is it should multiply these two numbers, that is 5 and 3. So 5 is 15, and then it will add 3 to the result of the multiplication. So let's try to run this. So now as we see, we get 18. 5 is 15 plus 3, 18. So there's one way. What if we wanted to add these values and then multiply? So we can use BO of BODMAS, that is brackets. We also have some shortcuts, like for example, let num1 is equals to 10, and now what we can do is console.log, we can just console.log num1, and now num1 slash equals to let's just say 2. So what this does is it divides num1 by 2. It's basically same as saying num1 equal to num1 divided by 2. So you can, this is just a shorthand form. Instead of writing num1 divided by 2, you can just write it this way, and it works for multiplication, division, addition and subtraction. So we are just subtracting 2 from the num1, or we are just multiplying 2 with the num1. So basically what it does is num1 equals to num1, and here whatever the sign might be, like multiplication, addition, division, it will replace that sign, it will place that sign, and it will just multiply, divide, or whatever operation you might have, it will just perform that operation. And then we can just log our value to check that if it works properly. And as you can see here, first we have 10, and then after multiplying it by 2 we have here 20. So these are some shortcuts that you should know, and this is a common pattern in many languages like Java, C++, Dart, and a lot of languages. So this is one thing that will help in other languages as well. And now we had a look at all the data types, and we had a look at some operators like addition operator, and this also works as concatenation operator in JavaScript. So we can comment this out. So now let's talk about conditionals. So when we are talking about conditionals, what if we want to execute some part of the code only if a certain condition is true? For example, we have a number, okay, let's assume we have a number, so let num is equals to 5, and let's assume this is a user given input, okay. So let's assume it's user input, okay. So and we are assuming that it is a user input, and if we want to print whether this number is a even number or a odd number, so for doing such actions we have if condition. So what if condition does is we can just check if number percentile 2, okay. So we actually, I forgot this, but we also have this operator and this percentile operator, and it basically gives us the remainder of number. So for example, if we divide 5 by 2, we get a remainder of 1. So 5 divided by 2 will give us a remainder of 1, that is 5 percentile 2. So it will just, this operator just gives us the remainder of a number after operation. So if this is 0, that is if a number is divisible by 2, so we can just log that number, we can just log that num plus string concatenation is an even number. But what if it's not an even number? Because here we can clearly see that it's 5 and we will have a remainder 1, which is definitely not 0. So it's not an even number, it's not an even number. So in that situation we can have another if condition, but all we want to do is check if it's not equal to 0. We can use something called as a else condition. So we can just put a else condition here, and now we can log a num string concatenation operator again is an odd number. So now let's execute this, and as we can see here, 5 is an odd number. So this returns 1, because whenever we divide a odd number by 2 we get a remainder of 1, so it's definitely not equal to 0, and so this condition will fail and it will return a boolean value of false. So our if condition requires a false value. So if we for example, if we pass here true directly, so only the if condition will be executed and the else condition will never be executed. Remember, whenever if is executed, else is not executed. Only one of the two statements is executed, and we can't execute both of them. And if you want to execute both of them, I don't think we need conditions. So if you want to conditionally execute some block of code, that is a code between braces, curly braces, so we can do this. And we have curly braces here because basically we can have multiple lines of code and we can do some operations, some maths or something, and that's why we have these curly braces. if we had only one sentence inside of our if condition, if we had only one sentence that we wanted to execute after if condition, we could have omitted this curly braces, but my suggestion is do not omit them. Just have a habit of using them, so that whenever, if for example you want to add another sentence, you can just simply add another sentence instead of just again adding braces and doing all the refactoring. So we can of course just change this to what it was, is an odd number, and we can change this to 4 and execute it again. So now as you can see, 4 is an even number. So this is an if else condition. If our if condition is executed, or else condition won't be executed. We can also check for the ranges. For example, if our number is greater than let's just say 5, we can just print num is greater than 5, and else num is smaller than 5. Okay, and now we can execute it. So as you can see, 4 is smaller than 5, but what happens if our num is 5? So as you can see here, 5, it's executing 5 is smaller than 5, even though it's not, because our 5 is definitely not greater than itself. So what it does is it will go to our else statement. So anything other than this will go into our else statement. So you should be very careful when you are using an else statements. But to handle such similar situation, we also have something something else, that is else. We can do else if. So we can again here check for another condition. Like first it will check this condition, and if this condition is true, it won't move ahead with other else if or else condition checks. It will just exit this block of this chain of if else if. Now inside of this else if, we can do num equal to 5. We can just log or num is 5. So I know this is not the most practical example, but as you can see, 5 is 5. So using else if condition, you can check for multiple you could say conditions. If or if condition is executed, if it returns true, if this expression returns true, or else if and else won't be checked. Our program won't even check for those conditions. And for example, if this returns false, now our program will check for this if condition. So this else if condition, we are chaining this else if with this if. Okay, so this else if will only be executed if this returns false, and our else condition will only be executed if all the conditions above it which it depends on, for example this if and this else if both of them return false, only then else will be executed. And we can have as many else if conditions as we want. There is no restriction on it. And we can also have a if condition inside of an if condition. Okay, for example, if num is greater than 5.2 and num is less than 5.5. so that's one thing we can do. So now we can add curly braces here, and we can log something like num plus is between 5.2 and 5.5. so this end returns true if both the conditions are true, and it returns false if either one of them is false. So this is just a simple boolean, and I hope you know the boolean, and even if you don't, it's not super complicated. It just returns true if both the values are true. For example, our num is greater than 5.2 if this returns true, we are just checking it for if it's greater than 5.2. If this returns true, and if this returns true as well, that is if our num is less than 5.5, then or this if condition true and true will always return true. Or AND condition, whenever we use AND condition, all the conditions involved like this and this, and for example we had another boolean condition something, so that should also return true. If either one of them returns false, our whole statement will be false. And we also have OR condition, like this or this. Okay, so we can do like either this or this. So we also have OR conditions, but here we can use AND condition. And we can nest, that is use if conditions inside of if condition to whatever depth we might need. But we should not make our conditions too deeply nested, that is we should not have too many if conditions inside of our one if and then we have another if. So in this way our code becomes way too much complicated, and if someone else is looking at our code, it becomes really difficult to understand. So try to avoid that. Okay, so there are always better alternatives using other if conditions, some different types of if conditions. You just have to think a little harder. So we can just these are AND operators and OR operator. We also have a not unary operator. So what it will do is it will just reverse the value, reverse the boolean value. The not operator always reverses the boolean value. So as you can see, this AND operator, always AND operator, double AND, always returns true if all values are true. If all values are true, for example here in this expression, if both of these values are true, only then this if condition will be executed. If either of them is false, the resulting AND result would be false. It's just like a real world AND, like you need this and you need that, so you need both of them. You can't go ahead without either one of them being true. And we also have OR here. If not all, but if any value is true, like if we want OR condition, like this should be true or that should be true, like any one of them can be true and our whole expression would be returned as true. For example, if we had OR here, if this was true or this was true, either one of them, our condition would still be executed. So that's a OR operator. And now I hope the conditions part is clear. And now what if we want to loop through certain values? Okay, I mean, what if we want to repeat a certain line of code multiple times? For example, we want to print numbers, all the even numbers from 0 to 1. Okay, or in general we want to print all the numbers, sorry, not 0 to 1, 0 to 10, let's just say, or we want to print all the numbers from 0 to 10. So how can we do that? In JavaScript there are different loops using which we can do that. Right now we will talk about the two of the most popular loops in all programming language, and those loops are similar in other languages as well. For example, Java, C or C++, or other languages, other similar languages. So first what we do is we use a for keyword, and then we have a circular bracket, and then we use a let or var keyword. So let keyword, basically what it does is it creates a variable. Okay, so we can name the variable anything, but we will name it I, because basically that's what all programmers do, and you can actually name it anything which makes more sense. But for now, since this is just an example, I will name it I. For I is equals to 1, that is our starting point, and then I is less than or equal to 10. Okay, So while our I is less than or equal to 10, and then finally after every iteration what we want to do with I, so we will just increase its value by 1. So I plus plus is just like doing something like I equal to I plus 1. So you can do either that, or you can do I plus equals to 1, or you can do I plus plus. As you can see, among all three of them, this I plus plus is the shortest one, so that's why we use that in loops. You do not have to use that particular syntax, but it is the easiest one. And now a loop will run 10 times, or I should say 11 times. It will go from 0 to 10. So let's try to log the value of I. So now, as we can see here, we have 0, 1, 2 and up to the 10. We have values up to 10. So how it does it is, it creates a variable I, which can only be used inside of this curly braces, that is inside of this for loop. First of all, it will create a variable I with the name I, and it will initialize that value to 0. And then what it will do is, it will first of all execute all the statements inside of our for loop, and then it will basically check if our I is less than or equal to 10, and then it will increment the value. Now it will again execute all the statements, and now it will again check if our I is less than or equal to 10. It won't reinitialize our value to 0 every time. If you are still confused, try to print some values, or maybe just rewatch this part of the video, and I'm sure you will get it. It's not that difficult. Now after we understand this, there's another very famous loop, that is while loop. So what while loop does is, it takes in a condition. So while the condition inside of here is true, it will keep executing that statement. So it's very important that you should not pass directly a true boolean value. So it will just go into an infinite loop, and it will never stop. It will, and your program will crash. So never directly pass in true. But what we can do is, we can just create a variable. For example, let num equal to 0, and now let's first comment this out, and let's just say while num is less than let's just say 5. We can just log num, and then we will increase the value of num by 1. So it's basically we are doing something very similar to for loop. As you can see, we are initializing the value to a starting point. You can initialize this to any value, 0, 1, 2, 100,000, doesn't matter, any valid value. And then here we are doing something very similar. Okay, so we are just taking let num, we are declaring a variable, initializing it to 0, and then we are first checking if our number is less than 5. If it's less than 5, we will go inside of this block of code, and we will execute the first statement, that is we will log the num's value, and we will increase the num value. Now in next loop, the value of num will be 1, so it will be executed again, and this loop will go on till our value of num reaches 5, because when it reaches 5, this condition will fail. It will be equal to 5 and not less than 5, and it will break out of this loop. So let's execute this. So as you can see here, it prints 0, it prints 1, 2, 3, 4, and after printing 4, it will increase the value of num to 5, and when it checks again the value of num, if it's less than or 5, it's not, it is equal to 5, so it will return false, and our value, that is our loop, will be broken. So if you want to check how the value of this is changing, you can also log this. It's super simple. And now let's run this again. So as you can see here, initially it's true, again true, 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 and true, but when it's false it's not even executed, because when it's false our value does not we do not go into this block of code. Okay, this block of code is never executed if this returns false. So now let's try again. See, this block of code is never executed. Okay, so I hope that was clear. And one important note, you do not have to use these numbers only. You can just basically use anything you want. It can be a simple number, or it could be something, some complex expression, or something like if a certain variable, for example, let's assume if our num is equals to this value 23 and something else and something else, you can do something like that. It doesn't matter. Only important thing is inside of our this circular brackets after our while loop, it should return a boolean value, so that our while loop knows whether or not we should continue. If it returns false, it will not continue. And what if we want to break from inside of our loop? So if we want to do that, we can actually use a break condition. For example, let's assume we pass true here, and now as I said, we should not do that until and unless we have a good reason to do that. But let's assume we do. So we actually have a feature, a JavaScript feature, and a feature in lot of programming languages, where we can just basically check if our number is let's just say equals to 4. You can put any condition here, it's just basic if condition, nothing special. Now we can just use break keyword. So break is also a keyword inside of JavaScript. So it will just let's try to run this code first of all. So now as you can see here, it's checking the condition, and if our num is equals to 4, when our num is equals to 4, it just breaks out of the loop. And we can also skip a certain iteration. For example, let's again do while num is less than 5, and let's just say we do not want to print even numbers. Okay, so let's do if num percentile 2 equal to 0, that is if our numbers are even, what we can do is we can use continue keyword. So continue keyword will skip the current iteration. So here I have made some changes to our code, as you can see here, and now we have console. First of all, it's just printing the boolean value, that is if it's less than 5 or not, and then we are just incrementing our number. Okay, and then we are checking if our number percentile 2 is equal to 0, that is if our number is even number. If it is, we are using a continue keyword. What continue keyword does is it will just skip everything after this condition or this keyword. For example, in our loop there's only this console.log, but there might be hundreds of lines, not hundreds, but there might be many lines of codes after this continue statement, so it will skip all of them. As you can see here, when we execute this only odd values are printed. So that's the importance of this, that is importance of this continue keyword. Now remember, if we have break keyword, it will just break out of the loop and it will stop the loop completely. So as you can see, as soon as it finds the first even number, it breaks out of the loop. And when we use continue keyword, it will just skip the current iteration, it will not break out the loop entirely. That's the difference between the continue and the break keyword. And here in conditionals, actually we learned if condition, we learned else condition. but we also have another conditional statement, that is switch case. So inside of our switch case, we can just keep doing num plus plus here, and we can do something like this. So our switch would contain num, and our case would be something like case 1. If our case is 1, we will just console.log 1, and we will just break it. And if our case 2, we will just log 2, and we can just say break. And we also have default, so we can just log greater, something like greater than 2, and break. So now let's first execute this code and see the output we get. So as you can see, it's executed 5 times, and the results we are getting is 1, 2, and greater than 2 3 times. So what's happening here? Let's try to understand that. So when we execute this code, first of all, our num is initialized to 0, that's its initial value, and our num is definitely less than 5, so it will go inside this while loop. And now it will increment the value of num by 1, so our num will turn into 1, our value will be increased to 1. And now our switch statement takes a num and checks for all these conditions. So case is like checking if our num is equals to 1. This is basically what we are doing. If our num is equals to 1, we are just gonna log its value as 1, and then we will break out of switch statement. It's important to understand that we are not breaking out of a while loop, but we are breaking out of our switch statement. It will just when we use break statement, it will just end the most immediate loop or switch statement, not the one above it. For example, in this particular case, it's inside of switch statement, and it's also inside of while loop, but it's immediately inside of switch statement. So it will break the switch statements and not the while loop. So if it's 1, it will just print 1, and we won't check for other conditions. And if it's 2, it will just print 2, and we will break again. And if it's neither 1 or 2, we have a default condition which will be executed always if none of the cases match. Now you might think, if we already have if condition, why should we do this? So basically it's used, switch case is used in cases where we want to check for a very specific value, for example 1, 2, 3, or very specific values. When we use if conditions give us the flexibility of checking a range, that is if number is between a certain range. So in all those situations if conditions are great. But if we want to check case, that is a particular case, that if our number is 1, 2, or some exact value, switch cases are the better conditional statements here, because performance reasons. Nowadays all the PCs and everything is super fast, but still you may want to use this. So this is also one option. Most people some people do not use this. You can definitely use if conditions instead of switch, but it's nice to know this is one of the features of the language, and it's available in many other languages as well. So today's last topic is functions. So what are functions? Function is basically a block of code that is you could think of like certain lines of code which you can execute again and again. So it's different than loops. It's not like loop. Okay, for example, you want to calculate square, or maybe you want to do some calculations, okay, some complex calculation. So you can create a function for doing that. for example, our complex calculation here is going to be checking is even. Okay, so we will just create a method to check if a number is even or not. And how do we do that? First of all, we take something we call parameters. So we take parameters like num, you can name it anything you want, and now we can just check if our num percentile 2 is equals to 0. We can just log even or even, else we can just log odd. So this is a method or a function which will check if a given number is even or odd. So how do we use a function? For example, let's create a loop. So let's just say for let I, we are initializing, creating a variable, and now we are giving a condition less than if I is less than 5, only executed then, and I plus plus. And now we can log is even. So we are executing the function by calling it using this parenthesis, this brackets, okay, round brackets. And here, as you can see here, it takes a number, okay, it takes num, so it takes one value. These are called as parameters here, and when we are passing it, it's called as arguments. So we call it argument here. So we can pass I here, and let's try to execute it. Node index.js, and now as we can see here, we have even, odd, and even. Now here we have undefined because our function is not returning some value, so it's printing even or odd. So for example, if we remove this console.log and run this program again, it now prints even, odd, and even. So that's it, and it does not print any undefined. So why was there undefined? Because when we are calling a function, we always expect a return value. So this was not returning anything, so that's why it printed undefined. So it wasn't returning anything. What do we mean by returning a value? For example, we could, instead of printing here even, odd, what we could do is we can use return keyword and do something like this, and here as well. So return, actually now we can just remove the else keyword, because whenever we return from a function, nothing after the return keyword is ever executed. So if our number is even, it will return even string, or string saying even, and if it's not, it will return the odd, because if it's even, it will never reach this line of code. So we do not need an else condition in this particular situation. And now let's try to execute the same code again, but now what do we see here? Now we do not have undefined, we only have even, odd, and even odd, because whenever we call this with a number, if our number is even, it will return even as a string, and if our number is odd, it will return odd as a string. So basically we are creating a reusable block of code, and we can call it from anywhere. We do not have to call it inside of a loop. We can just call it is even, here, for example, we call it here and we execute it. We can execute it, but nothing will happen. Of course we are getting print value because of this, but let's execute this now, and we are actually executing the function, and we also get the return value, but since we are not storing that value anywhere, nothing happens. So we can actually store the result in an variable. You can name it anything you want. So whenever we execute a function, it returns a value and we can actually store that value. So for example, as you can see, nothing happens, but now we can actually log the value. We can do anything we want with that value, but for now we'll just log that value. So as you can see, we print odd because 5 is an odd number. So functions are basically a reusable blocks of codes. Okay, reusable block of code. So for example, we can create a function like is square. So it will return if a number is a perfect square. Is prime, we can create, or any kind of a function which we want to reuse inside of our code, so that we can create as a function. And a function can return anything. It can return a string, it can return a number, it can return a boolean value, it can return object, it can return anything. And function, we can also declare functions inside of function. Okay, so that's how JavaScript works. Functions are also kind of a variables inside of a JavaScript. We can also pass functions to another functions. Those are called callbacks, callback values, but those are little advanced concepts. So this is basics of JavaScript, and I hope you like the video. If you do, please share it with your friends, and we will meet in my next video.